Welcome to another episode of Some Men Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Battisto. Today's guest, we have Brian Navarro. Brian has been pretty much the voice of California wrestling with Flow Wrestling. Really excited to have him on. Going to be a great guest. He's been the announcer at the state tournament, the announcer for Doc B, the announcer for Battle for the Belt. You name it, he's been the announcer for it. So we're really excited to have him on, and I hope you guys enjoy the show. What's up, guys? Brian, I like that shirt.
I had to pull something off. If you guys go out of the way to be able to send me a t-shirt, you bet I'm going to support you guys all the way through,
I like it.
How's everything going?
Yeah.
Good.
Good, man.
Yeah.
It's been
Guys
good.
chilling, enjoying your time?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about, I can't speak for Brady, but I feel like I haven't had too much free time this preseason. I've been busy.
Same.
Same with me too. Yeah. I mean, teaching's just kicking my tail right now. I picked up an extra class, so no prep period. I mean, I'm not bitching about the extra 20 grand, but like, it's brutal. Like, you get no downtime. And then I'm at the restaurant 2 nights a week. So the wife stays home. Our daughter's 9 next week. So it's good. It works out, pays the bills, but Thursday kicks around and you're just like, what's going on, boys?
Yeah. Oh, man. Same. I don't teach 6/5. I'd take it probably, but for the pay. But I don't know. Tiring.
It's one of those things where you're just like, do we take the money? Do you not take the money? And having coached in a couple
Take the
years,
money.
obviously.
Take the money, Brian.
I'll take the money.
What do you teach? What subject?
U.S. government. So, your guys' last one, when you were talking about wearing American gear, I had to bring the American hat out just for you guys. So, but I know Brian might be a little bit up north, but us San Diego boys, we got to represent our punk bands of the 90s.
Nice.
What does that say on your hat?
It's a punk band out of San Diego. They're out of Poway. They're called Unwritten Law.
Okay.
Bunch of 45-year-old dudes just crushing it.
I mean, I like Green Day. I like I'm trying to think of other punk bands. I like punk bands. I mean, how would you define what punk is?
I don't know, 90s skate punk.
Yeah.
If you're looking at Pennywise and Face to Face, Bad Religion's a little bit more late 80s, but San Diego punk scene was so big growing up for us. All we did was skate.
Right?
Like 182.
So we had a wrestler at TV. He came down with cancer back in '96, and we had a benefit concert in our gym, and some of the big bands played. And Blink, before they were even Blink 182, they came out. And we got a bunch of videos. We all went out to lunch with those guys. A few of us coaching staff. That was my first year with a couple other buddies coaching right out of high school. And Blink came down and played a huge benefit concert for them. We packed the gym, and it was rad. It was super cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Super side note, but I'm a shoe guy. What do you got in the back there? I see some combat. What else?
The irony is that well, there's two. These are like legendary. They're so unbelievably old.
Combat 2s. Those are nice.
These are Combat Speed 2s, and those replaced the Combat Speed 1s, but I lost those in a move. But this shoe is, I don't know if you guys can read it.
Henry Cejudo, right?
Oh, it's signed.
Oh, by Ed Ruth.
Nice.
Nice.
So, and then these are obviously the new Kales.
There you go.
So they kind of sit up here, and it's kind of like our little office playroom, and I got a bunch of wrestling stuff on the wall, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna move. I moved it just a little bit to have in the background, but helped run Fullerton Wrestling Camp for so many years with the Temecula boys. One day we had Ed Ruth come out, and he wakes up in the morning, and he's running calisthenics, and he looks over, he doesn't have a pair of shoes. So he forgot his shoes on the flight. So everybody's like, hey, anybody got a size? I think they were 11 and a half or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I got a pair. So he throws them on. And then by the end of that night, our two guys, Lyndon and Arnold, Lyndon had him sign it, and he threw it back to me. And he's like, hey, dude, here you go. Here's some shoes. I started laughing.
That's funny. I had a similar story. Last summer, we had a bunch of ASU guys out. We had Parco, Teamer, and Courtney all come out. And two of the three, Parco and Courtney, both forget their shoes. I don't know where they forgot them, if they forgot them at ASU or in the hotel room or whatever. Luckily, I'm a shoe guy, and I got shoes in my trunk, in my locker, wherever. And I'm like, all right, what size do we need? And I hooked them up. So, yeah.
It's
you forget your shoes, man. Like, I teach my kids that, and I'm like, these college NCAA All-Americans, national finalists, and like, these guys are forgetting their shoes to come practice.
It's happened numerous times with clinicians at camp, and it's super fun. That's the best part about, I think, a lot of our jobs is to be able to have some of these camps and to hang out with, some of these college kids. The shirt that's over the shoulder, that's Kellen Russell, and he came out and he did our camp. And then, I'm a huge Michigan boy, and never been there, never been to Ann Arbor. One day we'll go, but Lyndon Campbell, he knows I'm a huge Michigan boy, and at the end of the session, Kellen took the shirt off his back. He signed it for me and gave it to me. And then those small little connections that you make. The very next year after he graduated, I think we're in Des Moines. Yeah, we're in Des Moines for the NCAAs, and we're walking out of the arena, and all of a sudden I hear, Brian. I turn around and it's Kellen Russell, and he walks out of the arena and he's just like, hey, dude, how's it going? Fullerton Wrestling Camp. And I was like, hey, man, thank you so much for that shirt, and I appreciate it. And just the little connections that you make with these big time NCAA champs. It's a cool connection. It really is.
It gets kind of surreal. It's like you get to meet all these awesome people, and like, you're a pretty humble guy. It's like you kind of just are just walking through this arena, and then it's Kellen Russell, two-time national champ for Michigan, just yelling you by your first name, like, what's up, dude? It's like, oh, hey, Kellen Russell, like, how are you? But that's what I think makes this sport so special, because I feel like there's so many guys, whether, they're super famous or not, that are just, I think, generally just humble people, and dude, that's what makes this so fun.
No matter what podcast you see, I mean, obviously Rogan talks a lot about wrestling and doing his thing, but just the character, the hardworking guys that we got a few knuckleheads for sure. But for the most part, there's this camaraderie, and I love to use the word brotherhood because it's there. I mean, I remember Brian last year when we were up at Doc B, and we were kind of chatting, and then I think the rest of actually it was Lincoln, and then a couple weeks later at the Doc B, and then when you came down here to Temecula for Battle, and then we're up at State, hey, what's up, Brian? What's up? I mean, there's just this camaraderie that we all join, whether we got a trophy with a cauliflower ear or just mutual respect for each other. It's super cool. So to see some of these big NCAA champs rocking and rolling and then recognize you, yeah, it's really cool. It really is. And then, I mean, social media now, I mean, you can kind of connect with them, but it's still, it's so surreal. It brings a new meaning to respect for the people that you see on the mat. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of have a question about the camps. How long have you been doing the Fullerton camps for?
Working, man, I don't know, so many years. Arnold Albert, Lyndon Campbell, head coaches at Temecula. I went to Temecula. I graduated there, wrestled there, coached right after high school there. And so we've been setting up the camp probably since 94, 95. Well, 95. But working the camp probably, I don't know, last 18 years, something like that, right out of high school. So it's so fun. This year was our first year up at Cal State San Bernardino, and the facilities were really nice. And it was our first year back, since COVID. COVID shut us down. We were at Chapman University for eons of years in Orange, but then they, after COVID kind of shut down and some other issues with Chapman not running camps under the age of 18. We were in a volleyball venue down there in San Diego and Vista for 2 years, and it was a commuter camp. But having the first year back coming with those camps, man, it's just so good. This year, Pat Glory, he was there. The two, obviously we had, how did he word it? He worded it, the Colorado boy. He came out and he loved being called a Colorado boy, just a hometown hero. And then Nino Bonacorsi. I know you guys talked about him on the podcast a couple weeks ago, but just what a legend, just so humble and cool. And for a big guy to run camp, it was great. And then finished up with Reese Humphreys. Just what a showstopper that guy is. He just comes out and gets the whole kids motivated on the last day of a 5-day camp, and they're dragging, and he just gets them to have so much fun. The unique part about that camp is for the last, 10 years or whatever it is, Anthony Robles starts that camp off day one. And, with his success coming with all the world records attempts and just his brand new tournament, this preseason tournament, getting so much run and play. I saw a video of Dan Gable shouting him out yesterday. So to see those guys, get to know them, man, what a fun time. Pat Glory was awesome. I think he went golfing afterwards.
Nice.
They love to come to the West Coast, and Nino was cool. He got his in and out here on the West Coast and was like, that's great.
Really? Did he like in and out?
Yeah, I mean, everybody does. One year we had, who did we have? We had Hayes Winkle come out, and then gosh, why am I blanking on his name? Who's like the 13 seed that won the national title for Oklahoma?
Oh,
little guy.
Brewer. Cody Brewer.
Yeah, so Cody comes out, and we're staying up till like 11:30, 12 o'clock at midnight, waiting for in and out to get delivered to the dorm rooms. And it was great. In and out's the West Coast. Camps are always great. They surely are.
Do you guys have camp counselors?
Yeah, so they run.
Do you need any more for next summer? I just want to be a counselor, man. I don't want to use you as an name. We can talk more about off campus or not off campus. Sorry, I'm already thinking like a counselor off air, but
it is not my call.
J-Rob staff member for a long time. Like I can slide in there.
I'll definitely send. I'll send all that information to Albert and Campbell. It's their camp. I'm just the only worker who runs a camp store every now and then with those guys. But they run a pretty good little situation where they're 10-1. So it's 225 counselors kind of walking around doing their thing, and it's so fun. So fun.
Yeah.
I'll put in a plug for you guys for sure.
Put in a plug. Come down and shoot some content while we're there even.
There you go.
Absolutely. Maybe Brady and Sean can cruise up and bring their Granite Hills boys to fill the 250 kids for sure. And
I totally. This sounds bad, but I thought I didn't know the camp was back on this year. And then come to find out, one of my kids went. I didn't even know he was going, and you're like, "Hey, we had a Granite Hills kid here," so that was pretty cool. I
sent you and Sean that message. Do you want to share it, or do you want me to?
You can share it.
So we see the kid, and I truly forgot who it was.
Cooper Fields.
It was Cooper. And so I sat there and, kind of having a little bit of a relationship with you guys on social media and chatting back and forth. I asked him, I just flat out, I said, so number one, who's your favorite coach? And he's like, do I have to answer that? I'm all, yeah, you do. And he's like, I can't answer that. And I said, well, who do you think would win? And he goes, well, that's easy. And I said, well, are you going to tell me? And he goes, who do you think? And I said, I asked you. And he goes, well, how well do you know Coach Beeman? And I was like, well, we're tight. And he goes, oh yeah. And he goes, well, then how close are you with Coach at work? And I was like, we're tight. He goes, Clint, I can't tell you. And I said, well, you have to. And he goes, O'Rourke. And he ran away. So it was pretty funny. And then I think like the next week you guys were talking about who would win in a takedown competition or something.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's all fun. It's all fun in games. Our kids always ask that. They're like, because we got some good coaches on our staff, and it's always like, oh, who would win? Who's better? Who this? And we're all pretty humble. We just like defer the question. Oh, we're past that time. Whatever. It's just funny. Kids always
even Sean would pass on it too.
I don't know. Sean might not. He's pretty into himself. He obviously would think himself, but no, we don't get to wrestle as much as like maybe a few years ago we did, but it's too much time. I mean, it's a lot of time to run a program if you're wrestling with other kids too. So it's hard. You're like dead by the time you're wrestling with Colin Guffey and some other studs. You're like, man, I don't have time to go wrestle with Sean. Like, I'm tired.
And then that leads into like you finally, I'm a lot older than you guys, but sitting in your mid 40s and you look around at camp and they're like, hey, do you want to wrestle? And you're like, no. Like we're old and brittle. And then you get to those kids that are just they're at a higher. I was very, very average wrestler in high school, maybe a little bit above average. I won more than I lost, but I wasn't this elite guy. I was more of a cultural guy with the technique stuff in my coaching career. But you see some of these dudes that just come out there and you're like, I'm not sure if I got a shot. Give me a period and a half and we're good. You get to the middle of the second, I'm drowning.
Yeah. It's crazy just watching just the growth in the sport for sure. I mean, having watched my brothers, I have one that's 4 years older than me and then another one that's 8 years older. And I'm like, dude, like I watched these guys and I'm like, they were good wrestlers, but like I would have pieced some of those dudes up and they were like state placers or this and that, or like easy masters champs. And I'm like, just based on like movement and athleticism and all this, I'm like, the times are not even close. Like, and same now. Like, we had some loaded dudes in state. I'm sure, Brian, you're only a couple years behind me. There's good kids all the time, but now you're looking at like, dude, man, some of these weights are loaded. Like, there's 4 or 5 nationally ranked kids in one weight class. I think I had 2 in mine or 1. I'm not sure when I was in at least a senior. But
yeah, I think I had Hokett. My senior year, I had Hokett in my weight. I had Colt Doyle. I had Romero, who was okay, Caleb Romero. I had, who else was in there? Brian Salinas from Northview. I don't know if you guys know that name.
I grew up wrestling him all the time.
But then there were guys that like were in the
I coached against Salinas, us in Northview when I was at Temecula. That was heated for a long time. And Salinas just hammers, man, hammers.
Yeah, there was so many good kids at that weight, which was crazy because like the seeds just did not align. Like Brian, I think was the 3 coming in. He ended up getting 8th. The 1 seed ended up Frankie Graves, I think, got 3rd. No, not that year. It was Hokett's sophomore year. Hokett got like 5th. Doyle, who was the 6th seed, he won it over Caleb Romero. And then there were a bunch of guys that were tough that were in the round of 12. Like John Leal was in the round of 12. Freddie Garcia was in the round of 12. He was the 2 seed. I wasn't that good, but I was in the round of 12. Like it was just crazy weight.
Yeah.
Brian, you think about, this might be a tough question, so I don't want to put you on the spot. But
game on, let's roll.
You've been an announcer for. I have a sub question first. How long have you been an announcer for the state tournament?
State tournament in 2 years.
2 years.
Last year and the year before. Announcing total. I don't know. It kind of started out as a goofy thing. We did Battle for the Belt, and we had this stage kind of up on the backside of the gym. And we were picking out matches left and right. We had 2 cameras and we were streaming to Ustream. And then we threw some announcers on it. And of course I was coaching and kind of helping run the tournament with those guys. And then you just hop kind of up in the chair every now and then, and you put it on the headset, and we had these little mics, and we would, try to broadcast it on Ustream. And then one year, I put out my email address, and I was like, hey, send us questions. And we had like this grandma from Colorado was like, hey, can you film my grandson? He's going to be coming up, so we got to pick and choose there. And then one year, for the Southern section, Fox Sports came down and they did it. And they asked, to put some announcers on. So, and Temecula kind of had 4 or 5 old, the Merediths came out, Buck Meredith was out there. Jake was wrestling at the time, but, Larry Meredith's the dad. And then you had guys like, Bob Sarek and some of all these old parents that put so much time, effort, and energy into it. And we just hopped on the mics and we were just kind of goofing off. And then there was like a lull. And a few years back, every year at Battle for the Belt, I was able to announce that. And it was just kind of goofy. And then Temecula got to host CIF. And so they asked CIF, hey, can we stream these on Ustream? And, I think that was a whole good situation. And then started doing a couple things. And then Rob Kate out in Arizona, or excuse me, Nevada. And he, runs USA Wrestling out there. And he heard my broadcast of me goofing off on Battle for the Belt. And he's like, hey, do you want to come out here in a couple of weeks and do the Nevada State Championships? And I was like, yeah, sure. It had nothing to do with money or nothing. And he's like, dude, we'll put you up. So I drove out to Vegas, and we're used to California, this huge, massive tournament. So I'm doing all this research and I'm looking at all their qualifying tournaments, and I get out there and then, they got the 3 divisions, but it's an 8-man bracket. So like each division's an 8-man bracket. I'm like, what the heck? So when Rob goes, hey, I want you to do the finals for division 3 or 1. I'm not too sure, whatever the high one is. So was able to do that. And we're having fun. And then the last couple of years, with the company that started K&D Productions, Brandon Doran and Nick Kindred, they've started their own, production company, and they've been able to, subcontract with Flow. Last year, we were able to do one big duel. We did the big one with Clovis and Buchanan. And Willie Saylor calls, and Willie's just like, hey, man, you guys want to film this? We're going to do it on Rockfin and Matt Scouts. And through that connection, Nick and Brandon said, hey, dude, do you want to go up and produce this? Do you want to film it and announce it? And I was like, yeah. So we were able to pull that off. But, a few years back, meeting Oren, you guys have had him on plenty of times. And we just hooked up, like connected really well. And we did it. And then you go viral. You get this text message, 25 minutes after the state tournament, and you're like, what are all these text messages coming in? And they're like, hey, did you see DC's website? And I was like, what? He's like, dude, Cormier just posted your guys' call on Instagram and YouTube. And I was like, what are you talking about? And so he'd clipped from the Flow broadcast, which was really NFHS's broadcast, and Oren and I on the Montanona match, and the ending match 2 years ago. And, Oren and I are sitting next to us like, what the heck just happened?
Yeah.
And then you're like, hey, were you broadcasting this? Were you broadcasting that? I guess that kind of took off, but you're more than welcome to go and look at any of those. I'm a goofball, man. I want to get excited. I want to bring energy as best as I can. Oren and I got trolled this year on social media when I think it was Montanoni, he hit the assassin. And next thing you know, you start reading on these comments, like, who are these Flow announcers? And Flow just sends out they're just making up moves left and right. And we're like, whether you call it a bar, whether you call it a cow catcher, or, everybody's got their own different names. Up there in your neck of the woods, north of the Grapevine, Brian, you got the Turlock boys, and they call it the Weiser Tilt. And it's really just a Jonesy tilt, coming off of it. So no matter what the verbiage is the verbiage. And so it's fun to read the comments, but I mean, it doesn't bother us. Oren and I.
Publicity's publicity, man. As long as they're commenting, it's good for you, no matter what.
So I was going to ask you.
Let them keep arguing.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what makes it fun too, right? Especially on those matches where you go viral, like with the Mantanona one. So I was going to ask you, like, which one that you've commented on or been the announcer for, which one do you feel like is the most memorable? Is it the Mantanona one?
Well, I have two classifications, to be completely honest. No, not that one. It's the younger Montanona, when he's wrestling and he's down and he's out, and next thing you know, he's wrestling. Oh, why am I blanking on that guy's name? They wrestled the week before in the Southern sections. So when he's losing, and next thing you know, he hits a cradle and he sticks him, and we go crazy. And Oren and I are like, oh my gosh. Like, that was the most fun match that I'd ever broadcast.
Oh my gosh, who was that?
His whole. I mean, I could go back and look. I guess we could pull that up. But,
what school was he from, if you remember?
What weight? What weight?
20s.
This was last year?
No, 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
He was.
This was in the semis.
I think it was the semis.
No. This is in the finals. It was not Cyprus. It's
not Bosco, not Chaminade.
Oh, it was
Seth
Romney. Seth Romney.
It was Seth Romney.
Gotcha, guys.
And they're sitting out there. Next thing you know, Montanona hits this little shot and gets the fall, and we're like, oh my, he hit a mixer. So I'll send it to you guys. I'll text it to you guys, but maybe you guys can post it later. I spliced a video of the Pennsylvania state finals, and the announcer's like, oh, there's a cement mixer and the fall and you're champion. And next thing you know, like I showed that video clip, and then I spliced it with our call, and I sent it to Oren, and we were just laughing. Like, we were just so excited and, bringing all the energy. Not that PA doesn't bring energy. That's not what I'm saying. But I don't need the PA voice.
You're going to get more trolls now. All the PA trolls, maybe the one or two of them that they're going to watch this, they're going to leave a comment.
Maybe, but I'm not bad mouthing those guys. I'll never bad mouth somebody behind a mic, because it's a unique feeling to get behind a mic and comment, color commentate. But that was a fun match. But I teach at Great Oak High School, and that's in Temecula, and I love being able to teach at Great Oak, and all that. I've never coached there. When it comes to wrestling, I bleed brown and gold, and to be able to do 2 years ago, to announce, Perryman and Gaitan, they won their state titles. Like, that was just so cool to me, to be able to be behind a mic and to be from Temecula. And I wrestled with Perryman's dad in high school, Mark, and he went to Cal Poly and then went out to Arizona State. Pac-10 champion back in the day. But to see those guys and to kind of see their growth and to come through in the adversity through COVID, to be able to be behind a mic. And what was super cool is, I think Oren, matter of fact, I know Oren knew what was up, and he gave me the old elbow nudge with our headsets on, and he's just like, you take this one home. And to be able to say, state champ from Temecula Valley High School is pretty freaking cool, man. Mm-hmm. It really is.
That's awesome. Full circle.
Man, I love wrestling so much. I love it.
Okay,
That's so awesome.
Well, and I'm one more thing. I mean, I'm not going to, I'm not a big kiss ass or anything, but like, to see you, Brian, on the sideline, and to see, I think Oren called him Captain Overtime, or no, he called him the Overtime Monster.
Yeah.
And to see that, and it's like, we're talking and we're like, yeah, here, and then, oh my gosh, overtime. So to see that in the semis and then in the finals, to watch your boy, pull off another state title, that was a pretty cool little moment too. The Guffey match, again, here comes the connections with you guys, but that was super cool. To see another San Diego kid not from Poway win a title, and then Brawley wins one, so those are those are the local boys around us. But those are the fun matches. I didn't mean to cut you off, Brady. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I was gonna super side note this, but Perryman, when he was, I think he must have been a freshman, right? It was before COVID. For him so hard in like the semis. I think it was the quarterfinals against the Buchanan kid. He was like up. It was this crazy match. I don't remember if you guys remember it. Do you guys remember that match at all? I think it was a semi.
Perryman? Was it Harris?
Unfortunately,
Perryman
yeah.
And not Harris. He's wrestling at Army, I think now, West Point. He took second.
You're talking about the match at State, kind of off in the corner, right?
No, it was a semi. So it's like middle.
Okay, yeah.
Gosh, what's his name? Lopez, I think. I want to say no, Lopez. Gosh,
you sure?
We're terrible with names tonight.
He lost in the finals to Andre Gonzalez at 106 that year.
Oh,
yeah. Who was that?
We suck.
But anyway,
so far, come on! I thought we were California.
Well, I mean, like I'm a fan of wrestling, but I'm not like.
So that was weird. That was the year that semi was like insane. It was like a 13-13 match, and like Perryman's winning by like 4 with like less than 10 seconds, and same thing, gets cement mixer to his back. And on the other semi was Andre Gonzalez versus Bo Mantanona too. That was another controversial one where they were like, oh, time was out, his arm was blocking like for 2, like this whole thing. So it's like he got, well, I guess you could say he got robbed there, and then his sophomore year he got robbed, or junior, whatever that was, in the finals, robbed, and then there was COVID, so it was like, was he going to win his state title? Like crazy, just full circle.
Yeah, and then we kind of see the flop this year with with the brothers switching league state titles, but those guys, they work so hard. The Temecula boys, they work so hard, and of course I'm a homer when it comes to that, but when you see those guys go out there and put it on the line, and then to finish it off for both of them, for Perryman, and they're both at Iowa State now, and then Iowa State's just, they got some good recruits coming. They got Peanut, and Herrera went out there, and if I'm not mistaken, I think he's already moved out there this year.
He's gonna. Was it Gray Shirt? Well, not Gray Shirt. He just moved out there, so now he can wrestle at the RTC.
Wrestling at the thing, yeah. He's wrestling this weekend actually at the Elite 8 Duels. I just saw that today. He's on like one of those Ohio teams or something. I don't know where. Yeah.
I don't mean to be a hater, but I think I don't know. I don't think he's too great right now, unless something changes. We'll watch Elite Duels or Elite 8 Duels, but I was not impressed with his finals match last year. I mean,
well, no doubt about it. I mean, wrestling the same guy 2 years in a row, number one, but number two, yeah, you could see his gas tank wasn't the fullest.
He did not look good. Yeah.
Hey, whether he didn't look good or not, he's got a state title. I mean,
no,
I totally agree with you, Brian. But like, you're absolutely right. But
yeah, I think it's good that he goes and trains with the RTC for a year, and hopefully gets get ready for college wrestling, because if his skill doesn't develop, he's going to struggle that first year. But that's kind of the same thing I think with a lot of wrestlers making that transition.
This may be a hot take. I don't know if Palm Desert's going to like it, but I have no disrespect against them, but I don't know if they were sick at state last year, but just watching like a couple of their guys, same thing, like their gas tank or something was off. So I don't know if they had been sick or were sick or getting over it, or it was just like nerves, but like Herrera dominates everyone the year before, and his potential. Like he could, if he opened up, he would have destroyed everybody, but left it close. And then obviously Little Mantanona, like he just didn't look himself. I know, can't discredit.
Well, then Barbosa as well. I mean, he had a great tournament. Don't get me wrong, but when you're looking at that aspect, and here's the crazy thing: what they finished? They finished 6th. They had 7 state place winners.
Yeah,
I mean, they had 7 state place winners.
Yeah,
just ridiculous.
Yeah, I wonder what's going to happen, to their program moving forward. Like after the Mantanonas are gone, the brothers are all, graduated. I wonder if Big Mantanona is going to stay or what's going to happen. So yeah,
I'm good. You get to that point where I don't know whether it's they've got pure dominance and, they take the lackluster off, take nothing away from Anthony. He's a great coach and everything's great. But yeah, you saw a little bit of kink in the armor there, but still a phenomenal program over the last couple of years. They beat Temecula in the Southern Section duels 2 years ago, and they're pushing through. But I don't. You just get those families that kind of grow up together, and the boys. I mean, I think we're seeing that now at Gilroy, of course, where they're all kind of linked together. Now, I'm not sure of what the Kobe Merrill situation is, but whether it's Cody or Kobe,
I get them mixed up all the time.
What? Who's number one? I think he's the best wrestler probably in the country right now.
Man, he looked so good. Jeez,
he really did. The one that I'm a big fan. I think Sahakian is just a beast, and I think what he's doing, he's going to translate to just a monster in college. Whether someone gets to him, and the question for him is keeping the weight down because he's just such a large build. But he was the most impressive that I saw at the state tournament this year.
Do you think he goes up at some point? I mean, because what he wrestled 220s last year, so now he's kind of at that spot where you got 215s to go heavyweights.
I'm betting he goes heavyweight in college. He's too big. He's like 6'4".
He has the frame, right?
He's like 6'4". He's got to be.
Well, with Herrera going out to Iowa, I mean, there's no returning state place winner at the heavyweight division that's not a senior. So for him to be able to come in as a junior, I don't know what his weight is, but even if he's 222, 225, he's for a sophomore. I mean, the way he handled Campbell last year in the finals was just so impressive. And I don't know. I'm a huge Sahakian guy. Like, I think he's just a big build, just power with like a technique of a 26 pounder,
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of guys. I don't know his progression, but when I think about this idea that I have, or what I've seen, this pattern, guys that start off at a smaller weight and learn how to wrestle and then get big, like David Taylor, like Zahid Valencia. I think, you still have to kind of make some adjustments wrestling at heavier weights. But I think they're able to be more open and be more dynamic in terms of scoring because they've had that experience wrestling at a high level at a lower weight. Now they're heavier. And I think Taylor, he had to maybe learn how to evolve his style a little bit more, where he's hitting more penetrative shots and stuff like that. And but I think both of those guys, and you could probably think of a few others that started off small and then got big. I think they're able to dominate. I think at those heavier weights.
Well, I mean, I get to see the opposite side of it. Last year was super special to be able to see the 4 big elite tournaments here in California. To start off with the Zinkin, and I mean that's, Troy does a phenomenal job up there. Is that the level of the Doc B? Probably not, but you still got all the the Central Section boys up there. But to start off with the Zinkin and then come back, a couple weeks later and to be up there and to see the elite wrestling at the Doc B, and then come down, to battle for the belt, and then to see the Southern Section Masters, and then to see the state. You get to see these guys, especially us here in the Southern Section. It's a meat grinder to get through, and I know I'm sure if Tirapelli, if Adam's listening, or talk about Keesaw or whoever's up north in the Central, they always it's the big question: is it Southern Section or is it the Central side? Which tournament's tougher? But
well, now it's definitely Central because Southern went to their 2 little thing. What do you think about that?
Yeah, what do you think about that, Brian? Do you agree with that, splitting it up?
Well, I'm a purist, and I definitely like the 1, but you're seeing more opportunities for kids. You're seeing that 9th, 10th place kind of spread out a little bit. Would it like to see the blue and gold division wrestle each other? Sure, but if the whole point is, this is their argument, if the whole point is to get all the best guys up to the state tournament without beating each other up, separate them. So you were able to see guys, take a fifth or, a fourth, depending on how that rolled, whether you're in that third, fourth place match or the fifth, sixth place match, they would be battling for that 1-9 spot. So I don't know, Southern Section's made their choices, and I got to live by it too on the announcing side. But it was a blast to sit there in Palm Springs and to call both divisions and moving from mat to mat and seeing, instead of having two nail hammers go against each other, which kind of, okay, are you talking about it watering it down? I think that's subjectivity. Some people's going to think it's a watered down, but I think the proof's in the pudding up at the state tournament and how well Southern Section and Central does. And no matter what year it is, they're flopping to see who's got the most medals. Just two dominant sections for sure.
Yeah, I agree with the fact that you don't get these extra couple matches against these quality guys, and maybe you didn't get hurt or beat up. I'm for that. The one downside that I see is guys hiding from each other, and then they're getting seated at certain spots in the state bracket, kind of like the
Sonny Kling
and
Kling and
McDonald,
Montero and
McDonald,
and then who's up north? Like that
Montero
four seating. Vacaville kid.
The Vacaville kid?
Oh yeah. Gosh, what was his name?
Or are you talking about the Oakdale kid? Are you talking about Garcia?
No, he's talking about Vacaville.
I'm talking about Vacaville. Oakdale too. Oakdale was up there as well. But yeah, I think when it comes to seating, it's like, dude, that would have. I mean, I just didn't understand it because I don't know. It didn't make sense to me. I feel like there's an argument there, I guess, but I just didn't think how it ended up happening. I just thought it was kind of awkward. But I think with splitting the Southern section, I understand why. Because if you have, your best guys kind of beating each other up, it's like, well, ultimately, how do we perform best at the state tournament, right? That's how we maintain our level of qualifiers. We don't lose one. But then also it's like we want our guys to be fresh. So that's ultimately what it's about. And if they experimented and they liked it and it's working, I think that's fine. But I don't like the weirdness of it, I guess.
Yeah.
It's tough to get that seating. Yeah, you're right. And I think 82's last year was a little bit different, with Kling and McDonald. And then even Montero had a great year.
Sandoval from Vacaville.
Sandoval. Yep.
Oh, yeah. You're going on. I get you. Yeah. All of those seeds are crazy. But splitting the section is that's a decision. We've only had one small sample size this year. So I think over the next couple years, they'll reevaluate to see if this is a good thing or not. But tell you what, it made the day go by pretty quickly. Teams were happy about that. And you didn't see any forfeits or dropouts. So you didn't see somebody who qualifies in the blood round just default out. They were able to wrestle because they theoretically had a lesser of opponent. I don't want to downplay anybody who's on that backside, but they had a easier route because now instead of having the 4, 5, 6, you're having the 4, 8, 10 kind of matchup. So it is what it is. Southern Section's been so good to me over the years. I love watching that thing, and now get as many qualifiers as you can up to state. And right now they're looking at 10, and they're doing well. I don't remember the actual medal count this year, but I think Southern Section was up by like 3 over Central. But
yeah, well, they got more people.
What do you mean?
They got more schools in the Southern Section.
Yeah, we got a ton.
We got more schools. But... So when we think about which section's tougher, I think Central Section, Southern's got a lot of people.
Fine, there's no argument there. If you
there is no argument.
No matter the schools, it boils down to you have 10 qualifiers and they have 10 qualifiers.
Yeah.
Whose 10 is better?
Well, yeah, I think that's if you get Adam on here to your belly, the old school California Wrestle Forum was always the question. All right, well, who's tougher? Well, then when he would put out all the data with the the information with the medal counts, can we do a 1A and a 1B and flop it each every other year? Like just both phenomenal sections, that put out stud wrestlers, and it dominates. It dominates the entire. You know, you look at that leaderboard at the state, and it's like, I mean, we're all represented here, Central, Southern, and San Diego. You know, and obviously Poway taking second, but then when you get into like Gilroy and Clovis, and you get into Bakersfield, you know, Palm Desert was the top notch of the Southern section, but then there's, you know, St. John Bosco, and then you move down into like Fountain Valley and Northview, and Temecula's been up there for plenty of years. Calvary Chapel's kind of come back, but you look at that state leaderboard and you look at the top 10, and there's only one. Well, there's three. What was it? Poway was second this year. I'm kind of trying to find it right here. I think I have it somewhere.
Southern.
Oh, great. No, well, you guys, what? You guys took ninth?
Yeah, we took ninth, and I think RB took like 11th, I want to say, or something like that.
Yeah, I think they were 13 or whatever. Oh, here it is. I just pulled it up. Yeah, you guys took ninth, and you know, RB coming from San Diego at 13, but there was only one. Oakdale was the only San Joaquin in the top 10. So
yeah. Gilroy is the only CCS. No, Los Gatos, where they finish 7th or 8th.
They were, yeah, they were close to us. They were, I want to say 10th or 11th.
They were 8th.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, they were 8th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were 8th. They were just above you guys. They beat you guys by looks like 13 points.
We were battling with Fountain Valley. We were just trying to stay above them. That was like we're like tied with them the whole time. Like stay above them.
Dude, Greg Varela is doing some magic up there. Yeah. I've known him since I was in high school because he used to coach at Gilroy, and him and Danny Shea Jr. and then he's got Leaf Dominguez. I don't know if you guys know that name, but kid. Yeah, they're doing a good job. Especially watching their kids wrestle. They wrestle kind of like Nico and Paul Fox. Like they're good at hand fighting. Their attacks look very clean. They're pretty proficient on the mat. They're
a little 13-pounder, dude. He's gonna be a problem next year. He is a stud.
Yeah.
His name Antonio Rodriguez, is it?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Man.
Yeah, and he was only a freshman. You know,
we wrestled him at
finals match with Ramirez was a stud match. It was fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. We wrestled him at World Challenge last year, or actually twice. Our guy wrestled him on the front side and the back side. And I'm like, dude, this kid's freaking good. Like, who is this kid? Where did he come? And then sure enough, like I watch him at Freak Show. He dominates everybody. I'm like, who is this kid? And then sure enough, makes the state finals. So he's pretty good. And he's only
state finals is a beast, man. Things change so rapidly. I mean, even look at this year, look at the 6-pound, you know, Moore comes out and takes out Rock, and you know, little things like that you just don't foresee. You know, certain people allegedly missing weight. You know,
I forgot about that. Oh my god!
I'll stir the pot. But you know, you look at anything can happen in the state tournament. You really can. I mean, I remember back to a guy out of Rim of the World High School, Ricky Turk, and Ricky Turk he was a stud, but he got on that roll and he just started cradling guy, and no one was stopping him. And he just gets on a roll and takes it all the way to the senior tournament. It's crazy. I mean, people come out of the woodworks here and there, and next thing you know, they got a phenomenal tournament and they're on the podium of the state. You work your butt off for so long, and then it just clicks. It clicks, and you start rolling.
Frontier had a guy, Ryan Morphus, I want to say in 2000, maybe it was 2018 or 19. But kind of like, you know, was maybe like 6th or 7th, I think, in the rankings at the time, and had lost close matches to pretty tough guys like Saldalte, and there's a couple others too. And then, you know, it was wrestling well, and Franciotti actually gave an interview right before his first match of the tournament saying, this is the guy to watch out for. And he was like, oh, he's wrestling right now. He runs over and he loses his first match. And then he freaking goes on a tear and like beats a bunch of good guys and ends up taking third. Just clicking.
Who did that? Who did that this year?
It was the kid from Corona Del Mar.
Yeah, number 1 seed loses
Franco.
his first match.
Franco.
And comes all the way back and wins like 9 straight to place third.
He was like the 1 seed or the 2 seed, and he lost first round, and then I remember because he put our guy out of it.
What weight was that?
Our guy lost the number 1 and number 2 in his 2 matches at state. Went 0-2.
It was
I've
like
seen that before.
Eugene Franco, right?
Eugenio Franco, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he loses that first match and comes all the way back, and you're like,
Tough too.
How'd you pull that? Yeah, and he's a junior, so he's coming back.
Yeah, he's wrestling at those Elite 8 duels too. I just saw him on a team somewhere. Don't know which one. So good for him. Watch him this weekend.
Is Mike Mall heading out there too? Like, I thought I saw something about him going out to the Elite 8 duels, taking a Poway team or something.
I don't know if he's coaching it or who's coaching it, or if it's Tank Knowles or if it's Myers. I'm not sure. They got a team for sure. He's not on that one, but they got a team out there. And then there's a few other California kids. We got 2 guys. Abram Klein's going out there and Colin Guffey. They're both on the same team. I didn't see, gosh, who else is out? Obviously Peanut's on a team, but he's Team Iowa now. I don't know other California guys. I'd imagine there'd be some Gilroy kids, but maybe not Zepeda since he just wrestled. But
the Gilroy boys look good at who's number 1 for sure. Yep. I mean, they came to wrestle. So whether it's the brother, like, you get to think wherever Merrill's going to land, they could have 5 champs next year. Like, oh my gosh. I don't know if they can necessarily finish the top, but I mean, whether you're rocking from 20s through, the brothers and Zepeda, and then here comes Merrill, and then here comes another Merrill. If he's still up there, I'm not sure if I don't know.
I mean, that's the rumor mill. Yeah. Plus whoever they have coming in, I don't even know. I think the issue is always like, not like that they're talented. Like, they're a very talented team. Is can they show up at the state tournament? Like,
well, they showed up last year.
Sometimes literally,
sure.
Can they show up? Well, I mean, but yeah, they left 2 guys at home. That probably would have, one of them a state tournament. Mendoza, who would have been a one seed and possibly would have won it. And then Merrill, who got hurt right at the end. So it's just, can they show up? Like, I think Cal Grappler has them picked right now in their preseason, way too early rankings, like from June, that they're going to win it.
I mean, Buchanan still got the numbers for sure, but it is totally possible. I mean, what were they? They were like, I think they were 50 points back. And if you put those 2 guys in, I mean, now you're fighting, whether they win the title, I mean, I think Merrill wins the title and there's 30 team points right there. But if Mendoza's in that picture, there's at least 20. So now you're
in there. I mean, he beat Rodriguez multiple times. I watched it in person. So, I mean, it's not easier said than done, but I think weight class was his main issue. That's their issues. They got so many guys. I mean, it's like, it's good problems to have, I guess. I'll take those problems all day. If you got four guys for 3 spots, then you're doing something right. But man, they're
I mean, you look at Buchanan, whether they're at the Zinkin or the Doc B. You look at a guy like who's the smaller kid? Is it Woodward?
Ivan Arias, maybe?
Besmer.
Ashton Besmer.
Yeah,
and that's 2 guys for, like, they're all competing for like 1 or 2 weight classes. Like,
it sure is.
You're talking about Blake Woodward too. He was legit 106 backup.
He was, and then whether it was Ray or moving into they always do that last little tournament to determine who's going to break the lineup before league, and I think you guys call them, what do you guys call it, league section, like what's your qualifiers, like
Valley?
Brian?
So for ours, it's like our league isn't even a qualifier anymore. You just go straight to Valley. And then it's Valley, which is split up by division, and then it's Masters, and then it's the state tournament. But when I lived in CCS, when I went to high school there, it was just league, Masters, and then, or we didn't even call it Masters. It was just CCS and then state.
Yeah, see, in the southern section, there are 4. You have to place top 3 in league, and then you move into CIF, which is your division, and then you move into sections, and then move into the state tournament. So, I mean, it's a 3-week grueling take, not to mention you throw in CIF duels in there. I remember you guys talking on the podcast a couple weeks ago about possibly getting a state duels tournament and how that would work and where it would be. But you know, those Central boys, man, you guys definitely wrestle and you wrestle each other. It was cool to see them come down. I was able to work with, you know, to be on a broadcast with Mike Mal down at the Poway duel. So when Buchanan came down, to see those guys on a regular basis, to be up for Zinkin and see him wrestle, and then to be at Doc B and see them wrestle, and then to be able to get called back up to Fresno to do the duel between Buchanan and, which was an insane duel anyways. Like, did you go up for that?
No, I mean it's hard. Like I said, it's hard being a fan, but also like focusing on your team too. But I know Tirapelli had the they call them what Cougar Hunters or something like that, but he had like the jackets from Top Gun. Like, dude,
He did.
They won the duel right there as soon as they came out with those jackets.
It was insane when they came out. And you know, it's a big show. Buchanan does the whole big show, and you know, sitting there and being able to be on the mic, and I was able to hang out with George Ruiz, you know, Daddy George, and we did the call. And the, you know, when Ray and you know, who was it?
That was Nickade Zinkin.
It was Nickade, and like you're sitting there and we're talking, and Ray's not sitting on his lead, and then to get that call, and then for Flo to, or for Matzkaus to clip that, and everybody else clipped it, and then next thing you know, it goes viral on a reel on Instagram. And George and I were kind of talking, and George says, you know, he's got the dog in him, Brian. So next thing you know, he gets that's a huge show. And then for them to come out in their flight jackets and all line up, and then each year's a theme, and this year was the Top Gun theme and Danger Zone T-shirts. That's what wrestling's about, you know, to be put on these big shows and to have these big schools like Buchanan come down and wrestle Poway. Like, that's fun. I mean, I remember back in the day coaching at TV, and we went down and we dueled Poway. And for a long time, Brandstetter and Albert, you know, they just couldn't hook up. And then finally they hooked up. And then the moment we wrestled Poway, the very next day we hopped on the bus and we drove up to Bakersfield to wrestle Bakersfield High, getting these big schools to wrestle. I remember back in 98, Temecula took their team out to the Beast of the East, and they had a solid team in 98. And, you know, they take fifth at the Beast of the East, and then next thing you know, they're wrestling Northampton in a duel, and then they're wrestling Blair in a duel. So for a California team to come out and wrestle those two top schools back east, like that's the fun part. I know you guys were talking about it earlier, whether it's tournament or duels. Duels get you going, and it is such fun team camaraderie, and duels are rad.
Yeah, our kids love them.
Yeah, Temecula takes pride in winning the dual championships every year. You know, we bleach our hair and go out and just wrestle. It's pretty good. Being able to grow up here in Temecula and to see that team unity, and to go out and use as a team and send 28 guys to a dual tournament. It's a blast, it really is.
I have a question. So for Temecula, I know other schools have done it, but the bleaching of the hair. Okay. So is it true that Temecula started all that in California? Were they the first ones?
A few of us we're the 95ers. You know, it was the first year we won the CIF title. You know, I mean, guys like JT Mendoza and Mark Perryman and, you know, Nate Meyer, all our guys. You know, Danny Long had graduated. He was a state place winner the year before, but, you know, Perryman taking third that year and JT placing. We kind of always did our little thing in like 94, 95. A couple guys had, whether it was green. I remember a guy from Temecula, Nathan Poole, and one day, like, he shaved half of his face, like he had a beard, and he tried to go through groom check, and they're like, "Bro, like, what's up?" So we would all, it's a true story. Like, it was awesome. But you know, we bleached our hair every now and then, nothing major. But then the very next year, in '96, the boys did it, and we got together as a whole team. We're going to bleach our hair, and we even had shirts made that said the Golden Haired Bears. And then the team got really good, and you guys got like, Brady, you're down there in San Diego, so Justin, Flores he's his guy. He's a returning state champ, and Ryan Kane's down there with you guys down in San Diego as well. And those guys just wrecked the joint. They were so good, and we bleached our hair, and we did it in '96 and did it in '97, and then they got wind of us. And then in '98, here comes the Beast of the East calling. Like, who are these California kids that bleach their hair? So whether we started it, I don't know, but it's done pretty well. Sitting at 36, I think now, 36 straight years of a league title. It's a national record for wrestling. It's a national record for any sport. They've never lost a league title. I was lucky to be a part of 30 of those, but it's super cool. And whether we were the ones who started bleaching the hair, it is what it is. Whether it was in the middle of the early 2000s going in and to somebody and everybody calling you Eminem, to calling you Q-tip, or your bleached spike tips, whatever we were. It was a force to reckon with, and for a while. Again, I know I'm a homer, but you get off the mat with a Temecula guy, and you're gonna I don't want to wrestle that guy again. They just outwork you, put the legs in, and we're just gonna beat the tar out of you. But again, Ryan, I don't know if we started it, but definitely somewhere in the vicinity of it, and it's been a tradition unlike anything other. I mean, I sound like Nance on the Masters golf tournament, but it is definitely a tradition unlike any other. It's such a cool bonding moment to do that with your teammates. So whether we started it, it's continued. And so 2024, they're going to bleach their hair. They're going to go to Reno. They're going to go to CIF, and some of them keep it on their head until the state tournament. And hopefully they got another state finalist to bring it up. But yeah, bleaching our hair. I mean, some of us nowadays, we don't have any hair, but
yeah, I know, man. I got to figure out what I'm going to do this year, because normally for the state tournament, I would shave. And I did this back in high school, but I would just try to keep the mustache. I don't know if I could do that if I'm bald, because that just looks, I don't know. I feel like I would feel like a creep more than I would already be.
I don't know. Call one of your firefighter buddies or your cop buddies that got a really nice little mustache. Maybe we can get some wax and you can get some nice little tips
tweet
going
it
out
a little
and curl
bit.
it up.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, whatever it is. I mean, it is what it is. But maybe be able to pull that off, and we can get another pose with you doing something like this with Miguel in the finals, just rah, but with your big old curly stash.
Jeez. Oh, Brian, I'm sorry.
What?
Don't do it.
No, I mean, it goes back to the bleaching the hair thing. It's like, why is this so special? It's just, it keeps things light. It keeps things fun. It keeps things, fresh. It's like, if we're putting all this pressure on these kids, like, you got to win, it's too much. It's just like, just go wrestle. It's the most fun tournament of the year. Go have fun.
Hey, we could go late 2000s, maybe early into the early 2010s, and anybody who's been on, Simple Man podcast, or even the coaches or you guys, I think we bring back the soul patch, and you got to start it. You got to be completely shaven at the very first start of postseason. And then, everybody shaves in the soul patch, and we all take a picture up at the state tournament this year. Who's got the biggest and baddest soul patch?
I can't grow. This part doesn't grow very well.
I would lose, but oh man, I'm down.
Well, as the senior of the group, yeah, everybody talks about a 5 o'clock shadow. Mine comes in at like 3 o'clock. So, maybe I'll be able to pull that off and have a bigger one. But
do you have a picture of you with the soul patch?
Yeah, I'm sure somewhere along the line. You know what? There's a really cool photo of me and Coach Albert's son, Wyatt. We won the CIF duels, and I'm grabbing his face, going like, "Yeah!" And he was a little kid; he wasn't even in high school. And I got one rolling. But there's some old photos of our state finalists. Tyler Moran. He was a state finalist for us back in the day. And there's a really cool picture of all of us. It was crazy, man. I take nothing away from Calvary or nothing away from Bakersfield, but in the 2000s, they all had the Jesus shirts, and they were white, and they had like a blue sleeve, and it said Jesus period across their chest. And you look at the guys at Bakersfield, and you look at Vasquez and those guys expressing their faith. It was cool. It was cool in a moment. But one little story was we were sitting there, and Albert's like, well, they've got the Jesus shirts. So my crazy idiot, I made some shirts, and we brought them out for our Masters tournament, and we all had our coaches' names on it. It was like Navarro, and it said like Frosty and Campbell and Albert, and each of our 4 kids that were the state qualifiers wore them. And Tyler Moran, he's in the state finals, and then we had a heavyweight. He was a 220 pounder, just come out of nowhere and make the state finals. And so there's a picture of me and him, and I got a little soul patch going on there. But it's the only time that I would ever get my name on the podium at state. So there's an old picture. I'll send it to you guys. There's an old picture of Aaron Coman, second place, and he wrestled Kenneth. Oh, some guy from Mayfair. Kenneth. Doesn't matter, but state champ. And so he's standing on the podium, and he's got his Temecula jacket on, and it's open, and it says Navarro. So it's the only time I would be able to win to be on the podium at the state tournament. But there's plenty of pictures of me with a soul patch, I'm sure.
Yeah, I can see it now. Simple Man soul patch.
Oh, perfect.
There we go.
Perfect. You might not be winning that contest, but
well, I mean, who's in it? Is it just everyone that's been on the podcast?
It's your show, man.
Anybody who wants to?
Maybe Oren can do it if he's going to come down from Vegas. Whatever you guys got, whoever you had on the podcast. Bring him in.
I'm trying to think of past guests. I actually think there's a chance. I mean, I haven't seen yours yet, but I feel like I could be one of the front runners. Just throw this out.
Maybe Brett can do it. Maybe Sanchito, if he comes down and comes down, he's got that, the finer hair, so it might be okay. Are we really sitting here talking about facial hair?
Brett's not a facial hair guy. He's got that baby face. I mean, I'm sure he's got the hair, but he shaves it. He's clean cut.
Oh, you know what? Eric Morrill, he's got some facial hair. I don't remember this part though.
I don't know.
Of his face. Maybe though. Maybe I don't know. But maybe we need to iron out these details a little bit more, because I feel like that could be fun.
It definitely could. I mean, I don't think maybe Oren would be losing on that. That guy's got a baby face, and maybe we just kick him out because he's now into Vegas and he's in Nevada as opposed to Cali. But
yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah, man. This is.
Hey, I got a question for you guys. What made you want to start this podcast? Number one, and number two, what's your vision of it? I know. I'm sorry to digress, but I mean, I know a couple of weeks ago you guys had talked about there's no script. There was no set, hey, we're going to talk about this, and this, at least that I've seen. And you said that the best podcast, just kind of come from talking about things. What was your vision of this podcast? Like, why'd you start it, and what do you want to see it grow as?
Brian, you want to go first?
Yeah, I think
you're the owner and creator.
Yeah, well, so I feel like I kind of have to start with like the name of it and like kind of what it means. Like some band, I actually, the first time I ever heard the song by Leonard Skinner, I was watching ESPN The Season they were followed the Hawkeye Iowa from, I can't remember what years, early 2000s. And Luke Moffett was playing Simple Man on his guitar. I don't know if you guys have seen that, right?
Yeah, and you talked about that on the previous podcast on where that started.
So he's playing that, right? And for me, it's like, why did I choose that specific name? It's like it's kind of symbolic of why I wanted to start it. Is I feel like, for me personally, I I don't know. I feel like I'm a little goofy, like I'm a little weird. And I think, you know, I think a little bit differently. And I think that's why personalities that are similar to mine, I think, you know, you guys are wrestling people, you guys get it. It's just like, it doesn't really matter so much that what you do, it's how you do it. And I think kind of in why this podcast maybe came to be is I think that, um, you know, us as people and as leaders and really as servants of our community, I feel like it's our calling to try to express our ideas or our thoughts or our opinions on things that matter, that are important. And I think in doing this podcast, I think we get an opportunity to do that, maybe in a larger platform than maybe we would normally. You know, and you know, I think obviously, you know, we're all connected with different programs, and we do get to have our voice to the kids that we get to coach and to the parents and community members that we're a part of. But I think in a bigger world, it's like, you know, let your light shine through a little bit. Like, you know, it's okay to be who you are and express yourself. And I think, and having this platform be able to do that, I think for me, that's why it's so fun getting to meet and talk with people like you, Brian. Like this is fun. This is what it's about. You know, this is what wrestling for me, that's what it's about. So Brady, go
Great
ahead.
answer. Great answer. I'm not going to go as deep as Brian because he went on a little roll there. I just like talking about wrestling. That's what I've been doing for a long, long time. I like talking to people who like talking about wrestling. People who don't like talking about wrestling, I still talk about wrestling to them. I talk about wrestling to my wife, and she just whatever, you know. So I think for me, it's just a good way to talk about wrestling. And then on top of that, just get some exposure for California in general because we got nothing over here really. Like, I mean, maybe now there's another podcast out, but we don't get much love out here. So any way to be able to talk about, you know, high school guys out here, college coaches or whatever, and just provide them some kind of content, you know, is
Yeah.
is super awesome for us. And then obviously I'm still learning. I still learn every day. So being able to talk to these college coaches or mindset guys or, you know, whoever it is, I pick up stuff all the time. So for me, it's just like picking up recycling ideas, taking those, and, you know, maybe they work, maybe they don't. And then, yeah, just being able to talk to new people. I think it's fun. This makes the wrestling community the best community there is. Everyone has a bond of some sorts, you know, whether you like this certain team or not, or you hate each other or whatever it is. I think there's ultimately like a connection of, hey, we wrestled, so we understand like what we went through and what, you know, what's going on. So yeah.
Well, it shows for you guys, you know, I mean, I remember the first couple that you guys put out, and to be able to watch those, but to see not only the growth of the podcast, but to see the total like range of people that have been on, you know, whether you're looking at, you know, some junior guy heading out, you know, a college guy, you know, whether it's from a big university in Penn, you know, whether it's these small junior college coaches or moving up to, you know, the big time. You guys had some big name people, and you guys talk about wrestling. Whether your guys' vision is to take it big and have a whole big production of it, whatever. It's fun to be able to talk about California wrestling, but to be able to branch out to other states. You know, I mean, I think we talked about some Nevada wrestlers, and now moving with the Elite Eight tools and who's number one, all those guys. I mean, we didn't even get into Jackson Rainey's match on who's number one, but like whoever you have on the podcast seems to be fun. At least the ones that I've seen haven't been dull.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like the announcing side of it, you know, to be able to sit there. You know, Oren talked a little bit about his production values with Flow and what it takes to put on a tournament. And, you know, and I know Nick and Brandon for Candy, like they got so much gear and trying to just stream all these events so grandma and grandpa and these college coaches can see these guys. That's what it's about. And if you guys are creating some sort of podcast that, yeah, it's on YouTube, maybe not have the largest following, but it's there for life, and people can go back and talk to these people. And, you know, Brian, when you sent me the text to come onto the podcast, I was like, well, like, why do you want me? But then to have that humbleness of like, hey, you just want guys talking about wrestling. You know, I mean, my knowledge of wrestling is far less than some of these big name guys, but it's a
You
different
gotta give
perspective.
yourself some credit, Brian. You gotta give yourself some credit, man.
Those of you, you know, those are the people who out there that know I'm a cocky individual about a lot of things, you know. I mean, but I'm pretty humble when it comes to a couple things. You know, number one, I don't think I'm the greatest teacher on the planet. I know I'm not the best father. I've done the best that I could with my two girls, but also on the announcing side, yeah, you know, I wasn't a great coach, but was I able to take a kid and show him something? Yeah, hopefully, but. Yeah, the level of guests that you guys have on here is so tiered, but at I don't know, no time have I listened to one of your guys's shows that I'm like, you know, falling asleep or bored or fast forwarding. It's active, it's phenomenal, and yeah, I don't want to get invited. This is not what I'm saying, but to be at this bachelor party, you know, if you guys are gonna cruise out or out in the NCAA is like, oh my heavens, like what a
Let's make it happen. Come on now. The party. The group is
well,
growing.
so let me say this, okay? So I'm not. I don't think it's gonna happen for me. I don't think it's gonna happen. Not this year. Not
Wait,
not
at
the
all,
trip.
or like no bachelor party there? Like which one?
I don't. Well, I'm not gonna do my bachelor party there.
Okay. But
just because there's people that are gonna be at my bachelor party that probably don't want to go to that. But I do think it's a great idea. A trip. I don't know if I could swing it in the same year that I'm having a wedding, but
yeah.
Definitely in the future. So Brian, I had this idea, man. Imagine we pack everybody in like a van, right? And we just drive. We just drive there. You know, you get a bunch of people doing it. I mean, it's probably cheaper, right? You get to make great content on the way. Maybe, you know, we plan it out. Maybe we get a couple days, you know, where we can hit up different wrestling rooms.
You know, that's a phenomenal thing. The only problem with that is the NCAA's is that first week of spring break, you know, for most of us. So a lot of us are, you know, whether it's teaching, I'm not sure I can take off 5 days and look at my principal and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to extend this holiday and cruise out and make a road trip out of it. But hey, if it can bring notoriety to my school or to wrestling, I'm game. But driving out to the NCAA's, you know, I'm a flyer guy. I love it, but I think it's a great deal. You know, whether you stop in a room or do whatever. I mean, maybe it's the start. Maybe it's the start of like your guys' video montage, and you put together, you know, like you were talking about an episode. Whether it's Netflix broadcast, I mean, it doesn't need to be there. But along the way, all right, you're going to work out in this room, get a little bit of content, put it together, and then you get some production company to kind of throw it together, and you make your trip of, you know, 2024's NCAA tournament, and that's the culmination. But as somebody who's been to a few NCAA tournaments, you guys got to go. It's the top of our game outside the Olympics and the Worlds or even the U.S. Open. But oh my gosh, when you guys were talking about that last week or 2 weeks ago, I just went bing, like that would be a show for sure.
Brian, I know your hopes are bad for the same year as you're getting married. My trip was super cheap. All I had to pay for was like myself and like food, like that's it. Like literally just like personal items and whatnot. My cousin hooked it up for a wedding gift because I was getting married. Mm-hmm. And he wrestled at Fresno State. Like he's older now, so I like grew up calling him my uncle, but he's my cousin. But he just like calls me one day and he's like, hey, taking you to NCAA. That's your wedding. Like, this is your wedding present. So you're going. I'm like, all right, like, what do I gotta do? He's like, I got the flight. I got the Airbnb and the tickets. So he's like, all you gotta do is pay, like, split the gas that we're driving from Airbnb to whatever and rental car and some food. So hey, you never know. There could be someone out there.
So Brady, if you want to chip in,
someone that wants to sponsor the Simple Man Wrestling podcast, you know, I had no hope of ever going to NCAA. I was like, there's no way. I'm never going to get to go. Out of nowhere, like just I was not expecting that, but that's how I got to go my one and only time. So
So you guys can do it this way. I mean, we see it when we're driving to Vegas or whatever. You see it, in the high school realm after graduation. You guys just need to get a sticker or get some shoe polish or a marker and put it on the back of your cars and put your Venmo tag on there and say, "Hey, I need a fund for my bachelor party at the NCAA's. Let's go." And
You would be
people
surprised, Brian. You
support
would probably make so much money on that. Oh my gosh.
Well, hey, so we've been going for over an hour. Let's end it and let's talk a little bit of business. Can we do that?
I'm game.
Yeah,
I'm
good
game.
All right.
chat.
Hey,
Oh,
we got
man.
anything else? You got anything else you guys want to talk about? Other than the
Oh.
business stuff?
Thanks for coming on, Brian. It's been awesome. It's been fun. I look forward to, running to you at some tournaments. It's coming up soon, and maybe we can get you down to do a dual meet or something. Cool.
I appreciate that. It's always cool for people to appreciate what you do. And it's not about money. It's not about notoriety. It's not about fame. It's about just giving those kids and their parents or whoever's watching some sort of entertainment along the way, and to give as much energy as you can, because it's all about the kids. And whether that's cliche or not, whether you're having a podcast, whether you're having an announcing, to be able to work with K&D and to be contracted with Flow a little bit here and there, and to work with NFHS, it's been a pleasure. And for you guys to take the time out of your day to have me on, it just shows that our community is super small and supportive. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Brian. You're the man.